Mike the Detroit Borg with a look at the Samsung Galaxy S3. Now this is coming to the US through all the major carriers including Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and US Cellular. And those models will be sporting 4G and slightly different specs. But what we have here is the unlocked international version. Although this version here has been packaged for the US, so it does include a US wall adapter. Now taking a look around the box, you can see it's pretty standard fare. It's just a white clamshell box, and on the bottom is our sensitive information, which we're going to protect here, and we can see that it is made in Korea. On the back we have all our vital specs, including the fact that this is the 16 gig model, although this is available in 32 gigs as well. This is also available in two colors, marble white or pebble blue, and AT&T will begin in the version that is red. Now looking at the specs here, we have an HSPA Plus phone which will work with AT&T's 4G network, which is their HSPA Plus network in the US. This of course also works with Edge. We have a quad-core 1.4 gigahertz processor. This is the Exynos processor. Now when it comes to the US carriers, it will be going from a quad-core 1.4 to a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, but will gain 2 gigs of RAM over the 1 gig of RAM in this version. This of course is capable of recording 1080p video and playback, has a 4.8-inch Super AMOLED screen, an 8-megapixel autofocusing camera with a 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera. We also have a 2100 milliamp battery, which is good for about 10 hours of talk time. And of course we have all of our logos and branding. Now enough with the outside of the box, let's take a look at the inside. So inside is our marble white Samsung Galaxy S3 with a little tab here to lift it out. Set that aside for just a moment. Now you can see the cradle inside actually has cutouts for the buttons to fit in. Here underneath is all of our accessories, including the literature here. So we have a quick start guide. We have it in Spanish, and we have a little flyer here again in Spanish. Also inside the box is our standard North American power adapter here, wrapped in plastic. Now with all the plastic off, we have the shiny black plastic Samsung wall adapter, which allows you to connect a USB cable to charge it. Speaking of the USB connector, here is the cable. Again, this is a micro USB connector to standard USB connector, USB 2.0. You can use this to charge or add data to your phone. We also have ear tips for the in-ear headphones, and the in-ear headphones are tucked right in here. So you can see Samsung branded in-ear headphones white. And you can see we have a remote control here with a microphone here, so you have a stop, play, answer, whatever button, and a volume up and down button. And we also have our Samsung 2100 milliamp battery, which contains the NFC technology. Now onto the phone itself, wrapped in plastic. Of course, the front has the Galaxy S3 branding, Super HD AMOLED display, Android quad-core CPU, Bluetooth, and NFC. Now let's go ahead and peel the plastic off, and on the back you can see it's just telling us how to remove the back cover to install the battery. So let's peel this off. We're just going to lift up the sides, peel this off. And now for the front, we have a little tab here. Now with the battery installed, let's take a look around the hardware. So we have our 8-megapixel autofocusing camera, which is capable of recording 1080p video. We also have our speaker and LED flash, Samsung branding on the center. We have our headphone jack at the top, along with a thumbnail for popping off the back panel, which we'll do in just a minute. We have a noise cancellation microphone at the top. Along the side, we have our sleep-wake power button. Along the bottom, we have another microphone. We also have a micro HDMI, or I'm sorry, micro USB connector, which also allows you to connect micro HDMI to connect this to a television or high-def television. Along the side, we have a volume rocker, and on the front, we have that 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera, as well as an ambient light sensor, a proximity sensor, and that earpiece. Now the camera here, it does keep track of your eye movements, so this will prevent the display from going to sleep. This is a Samsung exclusive. At the bottom we have a home button along with some hidden controls here for Android, which we'll take a look at once we boot up the device. Also hidden is an LED indicator which will light up once you have a notice. Now let's just peel off the back panel to take a look inside. So here you have our 2100 milliamp battery installed. Down here is our micro SIM card slot, so this is where you install your SIM. Now this is the same SIM also used in the iPhone 4, 4S, and the iPad, so that's the small SIM. We also have a micro SD card slot, so you can upgrade storage up to 32 gigs additional. Now the back cover, of course, is flimsy looking plastic, but once it's on the phone it feels pretty solid. Now next up, let's go ahead and boot up the device for the first time. So now we just need to set it up. So we're going to use English, the United States. We do not have a SIM card installed. We're going to skip that. And we're going to connect to my Wi-Fi network. Now you can sign into your Samsung account to access your apps and other account information, but we're going to skip that. Now we can also sign into our Google account and transfer all of our information from our existing Android phones, but we're going to skip that for now and just show you the stock interface. And we're going to allow location services, so sure. And we're going to skip this as well. Now the Galaxy S3 also comes free with 50 gigs of Dropbox storage for 2 years. So you can create that account or you can log into your existing account. So I'm going to say no thanks for now. And we're going to go to finish. So with everything booted up, we can take a look around. So the first thing that jumps out obviously is that Super AMOLED display. Very vivid. This is very large, 4.8 inches with a resolution of 720 by 1280. So this is a full HD screen. So that gives us a pixel density of 302 ppi. Not as high as Apple's Retina display, which is 326 on the iPhone 4S. But it is basically a Retina display because it is larger. So you're going to hold this at a farther distance from your face. Now let's take a look around TouchWiz UX, which is Samsung's nature-themed TouchWiz upgrade for Android 4.0. And so you can see here, if you touch the screen, you get some sound effects that resemble nature. So you get some water tapping effects. Sounds pretty cool. So if you want to unlock this phone, all you have to do is swipe. It takes you right to the home screen. But also on that lock screen, you have a few other options. So here you have 4 major features or major apps, including Phone, Chat On, which is Samsung's equivalent to iMessaging, which is basically a chat app that works between Samsung devices or other chat-on devices. You also have a web browser and you have your camera. So you can swipe up on any of these to launch those apps. So it'll take us right to the camera app. Let's go back to that lock screen and we can bring up the web browser. So it's pretty fast, it works pretty quickly. Now if you have S-Voice enabled, you can also do this. Hi Galaxy. So I didn't have to touch any buttons. Now we'll take a look at S-Voice in just a few minutes. Another neat feature on the home screen are notices which appear in these little bubbles. So this is a text message, and of course you can get notifications in the upper tray up here, or you can get them in these little badges. So if you just want to access them quickly, just swipe, and it'll take you right to them. Now taking a look at the physical buttons here, we have 2 capacitive buttons which are hidden until lit. So you can see we have our settings button on the left and our back button on the right, and the physical home button in the center. Now the physical home button has 2 functions here. Home, of course, will take you to the home screen, and tapping and holding it will give you the recent apps. So this allows you to launch apps or swipe them to close them. And of course it will take you to your task manager as well. Now taking a look around TouchWiz UX, they've given us 7 home screens with some preloaded widgets and apps. So here you can take a look at all of them just by pinching on them. Let's see, there we go. So you can see all the home screens and you can jump to any one of them. Or you can tap the home button to take you to the middle one. You can also edit these just by dragging and dropping them to the trash can. So if you want less home screens, that's also your option. Now in the lower dock, they've given us the standard apps, including phone, contacts, messaging, internet, and apps. Now taking a look at the apps, they've given us about 2 pages of apps and some widgets which you can tab through here. You can also pinch to zoom out to see them all and tap to get to the page you want. So that's good if you load lots and lots of apps. Same with widgets, just pinch out to zoom. You can see we have quite a few of them. So for the apps, they include All Share Play, Calculator, Camera, Chat On, Clock, Contacts, Downloads, Dropbox. Again, you get 50 gigs of free storage on Dropbox for 2 years. Email, Flipboard, which is debuting with the Samsung Galaxy S3, FM Radio, Gallery app, Gaming Hub, which is a Samsung app, Gmail, Google+, Internet, which is the standard Android browser, Latitude, Maps, Messaging, Google Messenger. Oops, let's go back. More services, which are Samsung apps, music player, My Files. So if you load your SD card slot, that's how you navigate to the files on that SD card slot. Navigation, which is standard with Android devices. Phone, Places, Play Store. S-Memo, which is the app that allows you to do things like draw on them with a stylus. So for example, you can draw on it, or you can even record audio. So we have a little audio icon. Hey guys, this phone works pretty cool.
Hey guys, this phone works pretty cool.
And of course you can also use text. You also get S Planner, which is Samsung's calendar app, S Voice, which is the Siri-like voice control assistant, Samsung Apps, Google Search or the Google Apps button, Settings, Talk, which is Google Talk, Video Player, Voice Recorder, and YouTube. Now taking a look at the FM radio app, indeed there is an FM tuner in the Samsung Galaxy S3, so all you have to do is connect a pair of headphones, any pair of headphones, and that will act as the antenna. So here you can just tap on to turn on the FM tuner, and you can sort of dial around. So if you want to pick a station, let's see, 96.3, all you have to do is tap and hold the plus button, and you got a preset. You can also just tap left and right to jump to the next strongest signal. You can even record audio from the FM tuner with this record button, and you have your control here to stop, play, or pause. So let's stop it and play. Now taking a look around the 7 standard home screens, the first and last 2 are empty. The second one has an app for our network info. In this case, it's telling me I'm connected to AT&T. The third one has the Flip Forward widget, and we have some other apps here, including All Share Play. Dropbox, again, you get 50 gigs of storage with the purchase of a Samsung Galaxy S3 for 2 years. Gallery app, our settings. Chat On, which is that iMessage-like app. Camera, Samsung Apps, Play Store. So on the 5th screen, we have our media widgets, including video and music. Now our video widget has some interesting features here. So if we play, this is a video I recorded on the Galaxy S3 itself. So again, this is 1080p, 30 frames per second, looks excellent, but there's some other features here that are pretty cool. So one of them is this AirPlay-like icon up here, which allows you to use DLNA technology to stream video and audio to DLNA equipment. So right now it sees my AV receiver, my Pioneer AV receiver, and I can tap on that and it will stream right to my device. Also, you can pop out the video and allow yourself to continue watching it while you do other things. So for example, I can also move this around. I can go ahead and browse the web. I can go to my home screen and that sort of thing. So that works pretty cool. This also works with audio. Just tap the icon, reads my VSX 1021K player, and I can refresh it to see if there are any other devices, or I can tap it to stream. It works pretty flawlessly and pretty quickly. Now if you want to add any of these apps to the home screen, all you have to do is tap and hold and drag them. And one of the cool things is the ability to use gesturing to motion around. So you can drag this around to other home screens just by rotating the phone left and right. Now in the upper part of the screen we have our notification badges on the left, so you can see I have some Gmail messages. On the right we have our clock, battery indicator, and network indicator. So if you swipe down you get your notices, and you can clear them by tapping clear, and you can tap them to jump right to them. So if I had several of them I can scroll through them all. We have our toggles for turning certain functions on and off, so Wi-Fi, GPS, mute, screen rotation, power saving mode, notifications, mobile data, Bluetooth driving mode, and sync, which is Google Sync. So under settings there are quite a few things interesting to take a look at, and if we go to more settings we can take a look at some of the NFC technology built in. So NFC allows you to exchange information between devices, so this is great for mobile payments and that sort of thing. So you have NFC, which I've turned on, which will allow you to use Android Beam, which allows you to transmit app content to other devices via NFC, which is that technology built into the battery. So all you have to do is hold phones close together and it will be able to transmit data. S-Beam allows you to transmit data between Samsung NFC devices, so you can, for example, share video and music or photo files. Wi-Fi Direct is also technology that's not NFC but allows you to use Wi-Fi to directly connect to a device without a wireless access point. Now we also have an LED indicator here which you can control, so you can either allow it to show you the charging status, show you the low battery, or tell you when you have a missed event. So again, that's that little LED indicator in the upper left corner. Motion is also a neat set of features here. So you have motion activations and you have hand motions. So motion activations include things like turning the phone over to mute a phone call. You can also do things like picking up the phone, and if you have notifications waiting, it will vibrate for you to let you know. Tilt to zoom, again I've demonstrated before, if you hold 2 points on the screen and tilt, it will zoom in for you. Pan to move an icon, so again if you hold an icon and move it left and right, it will reposition for you. and pan to browse images. So if you're looking at an image, you pinch into zoom, hold the center of the image, and tilt left, right, up, and down. It will pan for you. Again, it's using the accelerometer. Shake to update. So if you shake the device, it will update your notices. Turn over to mute and pause. Now, a really neat feature here is the ability to do a screen capture just by swiping your hand across the screen. So let's do that. There you go. Now the hallmark feature for the S3 is S-Voice, which is basically a Siri competitor. Now in order to invoke S-Voice, you can either tap on the app or double tap the home button. What's the weather like today?
Partly sunny and nice today. The current temperature is 83 degrees.
Make an appointment to watch the WWDC conference this Monday at 1 p.m.
Here are the conflicts. Okay, here's your appointment. Would you like me to save it to your calendar?
Yes.
Great, I'm saving this appointment now. Okay, I saved it to your calendar.
Now instead of pressing that button, you can also say, "Hi Galaxy." Post to Twitter.
What would you like to say?
Hello from my Samsung Galaxy S3, period.
Say update, cancel, or speak something new.
Cancel.
Okay, cancelled.
Now there are a few things you can't do like you can do with Siri, such as email, but you can set things like appointments, you can call, you can play music, you can do web searches, you can even ask questions like, when was the United States founded?
Thursday, July 4th, 1776.
So it has a search engine that will actually give you results instead of just a search hit. You can also do math. What's 235 plus 86?
$321.
How many calories in a bagel?
Here is the answer to your question.
So we got Wolfram Alpha search results. And you can do other things like turn Bluetooth off.
Bluetooth off.
And you can also turn Wi-Fi off, but of course, S-Voice will not work if you do that. Launch YouTube.
Opening YouTube.
So you can launch apps, although I can't seem to pronounce them properly. Now Samsung has also included a lot of neat features with the keyboard. So if you tap the gear icon, it will take you to a few of them that you can toggle on and off. One of them is continuous input, which is basically like swipe. Keyboard swipe, which allows you to swipe between letters and numbers and symbols on the keyboard. You also have handwriting recognition, voice input, so you can use voice in order to speak your text, auto capitalization, auto punctuation, character preview, and much more. So let's go ahead and test a few of these out. So for example, if we try swipe, so we got Apple, let's do Android. Works pretty good. Now we can also swipe between keyboards here, so that's a quick way of getting to numbers and symbols. Now the key to the left of the spacebar has several functions, so if you tap and hold it, it will allow you to select between them. So either you have your microphone, you have your handwriting tool, you have the paste tool, or you have your settings tool. So for example, if you go to our microphone here, we can talk. Hello, Samsung Galaxy S3, period. How do you feel? Question mark. We can also do the handwriting tool. Now you can also go to your clipboard, so anything you've pasted to your clipboard, just tap on it and it goes to your body of your text. Now taking a look at our very full-featured camera app, again we have an 8-megapixel autofocusing camera with a Sony sensor that's just like the iPhone 4S sensor, although there are different optics and different software on the iPhone. So on the left corner, or on the left side, we have our controls. And on the right side, we have our standard function. So we have our camera, release shutter. We can also swipe between camera mode and video mode, and you can jump to the gallery. In the left corner here, we have the option to switch between the front-facing and back-facing camera. We have our flash auto on and off. We have our shooting mode, single shot, burst shot, HDR, which is very cool, smile shot, beauty, panorama, cartoon, share shot, and buddy photo share, which is kind of cool because it uses face detection to determine who is in the shot and shares that photo with them. Now we also have autofocus, macro, or face detection, and if we go to the gear icon, we have additional settings, including editing, self-portraits, flash, shooting mode, scene mode, exposure value. So if you tap the exposure value, you can cycle between that using a slider. Timer, effects. So we have quite a few effects here. Resolution. So again, we have 8 megapixels, but you can lower that if you want. White balance. We have our white balance control here. ISO. So you can cycle between a few ISOs, auto all the way up to 800. Metering. So we have center weighted, spot, or matrix. Outdoor visibility. Anti-shake, and auto contrast. You can also turn guidelines on and off. You can change the image quality to superfine, fine, or normal. You can turn GPS tags on and off, and we can reset everything if we want to get back to the default configuration. Now you can also change what's in this left corner. So if you want additional options, all you have to do is tap and hold it, and it gives you the rest of them. So for example, if I want, let's say, exposure value, if I want that always visible here, just tap and drag that to that box, and it'll bump the other one out, and that's your standard layout now. Now looking at video, we have several options here as well, including the option to film with either the front-facing or back-facing camera. If you tap this, it'll give you some other options, so you can do normal or limit for MMS, so that limits the quality for messaging. And we have our flash on or off. And we have our gear icon here for additional settings. So you can do self-recording, flash, recording mode. So if you tap recording mode, normal, limit for MMS, same thing, that's in the left corner. Exposure value, so here you can control your exposure. We also have a timer, effects, so we can do negative, black and white, sepia, resolution. We can lower it from 1080p to as low as 320 by 240, white balance, outdoor visibility, anti-shake, which basically zooms in. So if you tap it on, you can see it zooms in and basically will crop out part of the image in order to stabilize it. Video quality, super fine, fine or normal. And you can reset it back to normal if you want to go back to the default settings. Now in terms of photo quality, this is definitely one of the best cameras I've used on a phone. This is right up there with the iPhone 4S. So you get excellent color reproduction, a lot of detail. You can really zoom in on the photos and see just about everything. So you can get pretty good results in either low light or excellent lighting condition. Video performance is also superb. So it's right up there again with the iPhone 4S, both an 8 megapixel camera. Looks pretty good. Again, 1080p, 30 frames per second. So color is very sharp. The balance, the contrast looks very good. Color reproduction is very good, so you can see a lot of detail. Definitely right up there with some of the best smartphone cameras. Now comparing form factors, you can see that the iPhone 4S here is quite a bit smaller than the Galaxy S3. Obviously we have a 4.8 inch screen versus a 3.5 inch screen. We have a Retina display with a 326 ppi versus the 302 ppi on the Galaxy S3. So both are excellent screens. This is LCD, this is OLED. So very different technologies there. So this has excellent contrast ratio, but it does have pretty exaggerated colors, and it doesn't quite have the it doesn't quite have the bright white color of an LCD screen like the iPhone 4S or the HTC One X. But definitely a superb looking screen. I definitely really like it. Now in terms of performance, this is definitely a smooth phone. There is nothing that phases this. So we can go to a web page, zoom in quickly, scroll through a page really quickly. We can zoom out and pan through several pages. The UI itself is smooth, so we can swipe between pages, launch apps, launch widgets. Everything is very smooth and quick. That quad-core Exynos processor is definitely a powerhouse in this device. It can really keep up with Android. The other thing is this excellent screen. So we have a 720 by 1280 AMOLED screen. So you get all the benefits of AMOLED. So you get that bright, vivid color with a deep contrast. There's some drawbacks to AMOLED. It doesn't quite have the bright whites of an LCD screen like the iPhone 4S or the HTC One X, but you get all the benefits. So definitely is a trade-off, but it looks superb, and you get excellent off-axis viewing. This is definitely one of the best-looking displays I've ever used. I'm definitely a big fan of it. Our pixel density is 306 ppi. It's not quite up to the iPhone's 326 ppi, but because this screen is so much larger at 4.8 inches versus 3.5 inches, you're going to be holding this from a greater distance. So it's going to be Retina display no matter what you do. So quality is definitely good, and that makes text look superb. So you can really zoom in on here and see very small text render quite well. So even though you're probably not going to read with the device this close to your level, you can still read it. And of course you can zoom in to look a little better. But you can see that you can get quite a bit of detail out of the screen. Now we also have that 8 megapixel camera, which also shoots superb stills and video, 1080p video with stabilization and many other features. We also have S-Voice, which actually works very good. It's very similar to Siri. The performance is pretty quick and does some things that Siri doesn't do, like launch apps and interact with other apps. So right now it's actually a pretty promising technology. And combine this with a very thin and lightweight form factor, and you have a phone that's definitely top of the crop. Now there is one complaint I have, but that's the complaint I have about all large phones, and that's the fact that they're not very one-handed. So you can't really hold this securely in one hand and still be able to access it all. So you kind of have to scooch the phone down in order to access all parts of it. So that's a drawback of all large phones. But certainly that large screen is definitely nice to have. So that's going to do for me, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.